the same God that the Bible even teaches, the same God of the yesterday is the same God today. Why would he have issue with it now? And I think so too. If we are talking about God, he shouldn't have issue with whatever it is that happened. Because if he didn't have issue with Abraham, he didn't have issue with Lot, he didn't have issue with Noah, he didn't have issue with what do you call it? He didn't have issue with David, Solomon, or all the rest of them. Why would he have issue now? God won't have issue with that. If you understand God's ways and God, who truly God is and what God really is, you tend to realize that God punished Noah and the beast and took them out of and put them out of the world and say he's not going to just cast away. The sin did not just happen to just human beings. He even think it happened to animals and everything as well. So if animals are doing the same things like we see, I mean, animals don't take time to look for cousins and friends or some, go distant to marry or to engage in sex to have reproduction. They don't do that. It is not too keen. They are not conscious of that like we have. We have got so much conscious awareness of around in our life that we have every day inventing ways that we feel should be better, and we are keeping ourselves putting more responsibilities on us that are so unnecessary and making us more burdensome. That burden is something we can bear, and it's giving us problems. It doesn't mean you should go out there and do that. But even if it happens, we shouldn't take it so serious and kill and punish and destroy out of it. It is not a crime of any century. It's something which, if history has suggested to it, especially the so-called Christian or the so-called religious man who knows it, that these things has happened, that even their God has not much of. But there are some ways where the storyline will suggest that God had issue with it. And then Jesus Christ will come and he says to them, do not stone that woman, because all of you can be also be guilty. He says that the law of divorce was set not because of, let's say, the sake of the separation or anything, but your heart, because we already have developed certain hearts of anger and envy and all sort of things in our life that we judge and condemn easily. We get offended by all those things. And so if the person wants to go, they have to get a law of divorce, a written law of divorce, which gives them the right to go, so that nobody will accuse that person. Both sides will feel free. He says, because of your heart, the things in your heart, the things that you think, the things that you accepted, the things that you do, that is why you're having problem with these things. That's why you want to, so do not touch this woman. Don't stone her because you think he's a prostitute or she is that. All of you are guilty of prostitution. Your mental mind, whichever way it is, you're all guilty of prostitution. And truly we are all guilty of something. Sometimes when you see these things, the very people who are accusing you and condemning you are sometimes even twice worse. That is the sad thing about it. That is what makes it unjustified for anybody to be accused of these things, because you know that it is irrelevant. Yet, because there are you have one or two people who has abused certain things in certain ways. I mean, sin, defining sin is a simple and straightforward definition. Something that is done wrong against your fellow person that he does not like. It's a simple definition that I don't see why it's become so complicated every day. There are things that you do to somebody that he doesn't necessarily object or hate or get upset. But if we define sin and have specifics of what sin is, then even if that thing that we do is okay, since we have defined it as sin and wrong, it makes it wrong. That's not smartness. That's very stupid. That's silly. That's what the situation is. That is exactly what we face in our lives. Because we have already concluded the things that we think are wrong or right. And I will point it all out to you as time goes on. Some of the things in the Ten Commandments or things in any rules of laws that we see that the same thing will be happening to other people, and it's okay. And the situation even demanded for them to do that. Why would it be? As long as it's law, it should be a law. It doesn't matter what the situation is. There's no circumstance that should free you from something which is sin. But the best way to have that peace is that we shouldn't have set those laws. We shouldn't have even looked at the laws or set those things out in that sense. But you look at the circumstance of how the thing happened, and then you realize what is necessary or wasn't it necessary. In certain circumstances, it is necessary for, let's say, for Abraham to have a child, and he chose his maid to sleep because his maid was not. What if his maid was also barren? There are instances of stories there which one woman slept with what all the brothers of a house for a child. When he sleep with that, he die. He sleep with that, he dies. He sleep with that, he die. And then the story was like a parable, and he says, what would that woman do when he got to resurrection? Is he going to marry all the children, all the men? You know, I mean, these things are something that the circumstance, that situation that the person is in. According to tradition, that's what they were following. But realistically, if one demands to have something, he needs to have it. But whatever that person is doing, if it's an offense to that person or the other party, then it's wrong. But if it's not an offense, then it's not sin, it's not wrong, it's not sin as well. Now, would I say that if somebody is killing somebody, there are situations where today people ask people to help them to kill themselves. Now, is it sin? Is that person sinning? That person who is killing himself, asking that help, he has chose that he liked the idea that this person should kill him. Now, if someone requests for me to do the killing, if I can do it, that if I have the heart to do it, and I do it, are you going to condemn me that I'm a sinner, that I have sinned, I have killed a human being? That's wrong. You completely getting it wrong. You know, he wanted that. He willingly requested for me to do that, and I did that for that person. I didn't force her. It is something that he wanted to be done. But in general sense, there's already a command that killing is wrong. If you already have a law which tells you that no matter what the circumstance, killing, taking a life is wrong, then it becomes a problem. Because as long as that person has data, then nobody cares about whether she wanted it or he wanted it. You killed him and you have offended the law. So let's go by. So as long as the law is there, then we have the issue where we have to resolve the issue, or it brings anger, provoking. It demands some sort of actions that needs to be taken to sort of pay a price, or sort of people will take the mantle upon themselves to assure that this law is established. But if there is no law and we use our own common sense to apply, we can see clearly that in this sense, even though killing is wrong, it was right in this sense. Even though adultery is wrong, it was right in this sense. Even though fornication is wrong, it was right in this sense. So if we don't have laws there, then we have no problem. But if we put the laws there, then we have an issue, because the law is a law. But since we know that now, these things, then we know that the law is not the law. Because if we follow the law, then we have issues. Then the war will arise, and struggling and fighting and provoking will all take place. We will judge people because there's a law. But if there's no law, why do you will not just judge people? You will look at the pros and cons of whatever before you make your speech. Because it is not all sex practice with anybody, it being condemned or seen as adultery, that should be seen as adultery. It may be the same thing like having a marriage with somebody and you ended up with somebody, and it may be as actually what we think of it as adultery, but it was relevant for that person to do that engagement, and so you cannot condemn it. You cannot just condemn it. But as I said, as long as there are these books and there are this culture and these teachings and these norms that have been accepted, then it becomes an issue. and then people take actions, and that action results to another action, that results to another action, and sometimes it results to grieving, and